What's going on, guys? It's Max here with FrozenCPU. I got some stuff in from Enermax today. Yeah, got the little creepy teddy bear over here, got some fans, but most importantly we got the LIQFUSION. Catches a lot of interest on the market. Let's see what we get in the box here. Alright, so first off, how many AIOs come with some liquid? Not that many. So apparently you can top this thing up. Interestingly enough, this guy comes with thermal paste and then more thermal paste with the liquid. Don't know what to say about that. I guess they want to make sure you have enough paste. Alright, here we go. Let's get all the crap out. We got the LIQFUSION. It's a 240 kit. It's from Enermax. Alright, so here we go. Creepy Lions, talking about Enermax. So anyway, you're looking at a 240 kit here. I think we all know that by now. I'm sure we've all looked at this on the internet, but it's just interesting. I figured we'd take a look at it. We don't only sell custom loop cooling products here at FrozenCPU. We sell the AIOs too. So on the Enermax, you're looking at a 5-volt addressable RGB. If you're new to RGB, you know, right now at this stage with RGB, everything is not streamlined. There's 12 volt, there's 5 volt, different motherboards support different stuff, yada yada, life goes on. Anyway, you can plug this pump and the fans into something like RGB or any kind of 5 volt addressable only motherboard. Your best bet, I'm going to say, is just go ahead and use their controller. Right here, it's pretty small. It'll control all 3 components, 2 fans and the pump. Your 120mm fans, these are supposedly static pressure optimized fans. Interestingly enough, these are 2000 RPM fans. If you buy Enermax RGB fans, which are actually 12 volt non-addressable fans, unlike these 5 volt addressable, they are only 1500 RPMs fans. So for the LIQFUSION, they've done something a little different, I could say. They kind of really went for it with the 2000 RPM fan to give you that performance boost. Alright, the connectors are pretty similar to what you'd see on, I'd say, a lot of different RGB stuff out there. They usually use the same pins, same kind of deal. So here's your 5 volt. It's a 4-pin. However, there's a pin missing out of the connector. That's usually your first hint that it's 5 volt. If you go ahead and plug this in to a 12 volt addressable header on a motherboard, like an MSI Mystic Light and like on a Pro Carbon board, you're going to burn these things out. So be very careful with that. Essentially, you're going to get a splitter cable in your bag of goodies here. And these almost look like fan cables, but indeed, these are your 5 volt addressable splitters. And as you can see, they almost look like PWM cables. So this guy is going to hook up to your controller. Okay, your controller. Those guys, you're going to plug these in right into your controller, right into the back here. There's going to be your plug-in. Alright, you're going to give this guy power, and then you're going to get fan, and pump 5 volt addressable RGBs. Alright, so basically your challenge is going to be to find a place to put this with the SATA power cable and cable manage it in with this big string of wires and not have it look like a complete mess. No problem, right? Yes, of course. Alright, so let's get down to what this thing's going to look like. So, plug. Alright, so all plugged in here. As you can see, the light show is beautiful. Friggin' Christmas tree action going on. Gotta say, Enermax did a pretty good job. The addressable RGBs, the diffusion you got going on here in both the fans. I love how the sides of the fans, you got the diffusers going on, and the front. You couldn't really ask for more at this price point. So basically what it comes down to next, we're going to be talking about the little remote and how you can move the lights and colors around. Extremely straightforward. As you can see, we got a green light. Green light means we are changing modes. Alright, there are multiple RGB modes you can change. Alright, a lot of different swirlies. We got some color changing flashes, yada yada. You got it. Anyway, if you hold or push down this M button, instead of changing modes, you're now in red. Red mode, not to say mode 100 times, is now going to change the speed of whatever you're in. So if you click these up really fast, click these down really slow. If you want to save, I believe, the mode, or there's no way to store, you actually hold this down. On some of Enermax's stuff, if you hold the speed button, it'll cycle through the speeds. I guess on here, because of this extra function, you just have to push. So M switches you to speeds. When you're in the red mode, when you're on the green mode, it switches the actual RGB mode itself. So mode switching, speed of the mode, and then there's your storing mode. So pretty easy to deal with there. Getting into the radiator itself. Kind of interesting this time around. Enermax went ahead and did a little embossing on the side of the radiator. It's got kind of like a square look to it, but sort of interesting. A little indentation there. The fin density on your radiator up in this situation is relatively dense. It's about like a Corsair H100i, I would say, in terms of density. Believe this is an aluminum radiator. Looking at the plating on the cold plate, to me, it's reminiscent of some kind of anodizing or plating on aluminum. I doubt that's an aluminum base plate, but it could be. I don't really know those details. Sorry, folks. I'm sure it's not going to matter much anyway in terms of cooling performance. Strangely, though, Enermax, I don't know if this is an industry first or not, but the pump on the tubes kind of seems cool. You don't have to have the pump down on the cold plate. However, it does present a bit of a problem. Sometimes, in a small form factor case, you got this guy mounted on the front, and you're trying to get this guy mounted onto your CPU. This thing can get in the way. Keep that in mind. And on the back half, the cable, or excuse me, the tube does move right through this little piece here. Obviously, it's not going to move on this side because that's your pump. Let's go ahead and hear what the pump sounds like volume-wise. Go ahead and plug that in for you. It's not the loudest pump on the market, but wouldn't quite call it quiet. I'll move the mic in a little bit. That is full blast pump. That's your full blast pump. Really does vibrate quite a bit. It does get a little warm, but you know, it's really not that loud. Obviously, depending on how your radiator was shipped and the orientation, you're going to have the whole bubble sound going on. You know, typical stuff. But pump is pretty nice, pretty quiet. Not really sure what the deal with this little purgy valve thing is. I didn't really get too much into that. I think another reviewer said this was some kind of way to release pressure. Something I wouldn't touch or play with. Enermax, however, if you do decide to mess around with this thing and you break it, Enermax is relatively good about customer service and RMA. I've dealt with them in the past personally. Never had a problem with Enermax. So, getting the whole thing put together, you've pretty much seen most of it. The only other things I want to touch on is your mounting kit in here. If any of you guys out there have ever put together a thermal take air cooler, these things must be coming from the same factory as the thermal take, because this is literally the exact same mounting bracket on, I believe it's the thermal take Ring Silent I personally own. It's got the same foam pads, the punch outs. The only difference is there's some little poles and pegs. So very easy installation. Works really nice. There has been complaints in the past because this is metal and you got the foam. If you really tighten this down against the back of your motherboard, contacts can touch this metal, and depending on your situation, you could have a shorting problem. Wouldn't worry about it too much. Another nice thing about the pump and this mounting kit is if you take a look at our back plate here, as I knock everything over, you got two screws. And if I get this back plate here, there's actually 4 mounting holes. This block can be mounted in 4 different positions. So kind of nice, kind of helps getting in those weird kind of directions on your motherboard. Easier to mount there. And smartly, another thing I like Enermax did with this, it's these little details that I like. The Enermax writing is kind of sideways. Unlike, say, a Corsair H100i, you have that center plate, and you have Corsair written in RGB straight across. So if you mount a Corsair sideways or upside down, it's kind of going to look crappy. Where with the Enermax, this will look good mounted in pretty much any orientation on the motherboard. So good job there, Enermax. The only real nitpicky thing I can say is I don't like the AIO fittings on the side down here. These kind of rotary, I do like. Again, I'll keep bringing Corsair into this because they're known for these, so I'm just going to keep picking on them. I do like how they mount the tubes right on top on a rotary. I appreciate that. Also down here, you run into the situation where you're moving these fittings and this RGB cable gets in the way. Kind of annoying, but definitely something you can look past. So yeah, what else you get in the box? You get some thermal paste and these spreaders that nobody ever uses. You get a whole bunch of screws, and again, these mounting pegs look identical to that of Thermaltake's air coolers. Right, Lion? Yeah, those look pretty identical. So anyway, this has been the Corsair. Just kidding. This is the Enermax LIQFUSION. This is a 240 kit. We sell these here at FrozenCPU. Same day shipping, unless you're ordering on the weekends. Give us a call. Ask for Max. Ask for Trevor. We'll help you out if you have any questions. And yeah, feel free to drop us an email, leave us a comment. We do still exist. FrozenCPU is still an online business. I know you think we disappeared, but we didn't. We're still here. We're still here with the Lion. We're going. We're jungle. Hit us up. See ya.